Hi guys, welcome to round 4 of St. Petersburg 1895-96. This is one of the most famous tournaments ever, and Lasker, while he had a tough loss in round 1, he's come back with a vengeance. He's now 2-1, and he's playing Wilhelm Steinitz, who he pretty much owns because he beat him in the World Championship pretty convincingly, and won the first matchup these guys played in this tournament. So, we're going to look at the early stage of this game. I think we're going to divide this video into 2 parts. So first, d4, d5, e6, knight c3, knight f6. We have a queen's gambit declined here. And amazingly, this is a very modern treatment of the queen's gambit declined. I think usually it would go knight f3 here, however. Instead he played rook c1. Black played the very typical move c5. D takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, pawn takes. Knight f3, a very logical developing move. Knight c6. Now, there are two questions I can ask you. One of them is going to be harder. One of them is going to be a little easier. If you want to do the hard version, wait. Nah, actually, there's no way to get around it. You know, we're just going to do the easier version. So, white played the move. Well, first I'm going to give you guys a few choices, actually. That's going to make it easier. Sorry, it wasn't planned out so well. White needs to complete his development and get castled. The only piece that is not developed is the bishop on f1. Now, bishop to b5 is a bit of a strange move. It simply runs into stuff like maybe a6 can just kick the bishop away, or maybe something else that we'll talk about later. But my 2 choices that you have here for white. Would you develop this bishop to e2, or would you develop it to d3? This is a complicated question. I recommend, unless you're like quite strong, to just skip this part and go to the next question. The next question is, Steinitz played the move bishop to d3. What move would you play here for black? So okay, basically bishop d3 is not the best move. Believe it or not, bishop e2 is even a relatively modern-day opening line that Karpov and Kasparov have both played in tournaments. The idea is after d4, and by the way, after bishop d3, d4 is the best move. But after we trade all of this, and let's say queen takes even, knight to b5, white gets some small initiative. It's just some theoretical line, and black is probably doing okay. But in the database, I saw like 2 wins for white and 6 draws. So white has some small advantage. Bishop d3 is less accurate, because after d4, pawn takes, knight takes, white has some development problems. As you can tell, he's not castled yet. And if something like knight takes knight, queen takes, attacks the bishop and threatens rook e8 check, making it even harder for the king to castle. Notice if bishop e3, we simply pin the bishop, threatening bishop takes bishop, king still in the center, unpleasant for white. Another key point, this d-pawn is a weakness. It's an isolated pawn. It can be weak later in the game. We're getting rid of it right away. So d4 was really annoying. Pawn takes, knight takes, and white simply castled now. But black has quite a strong move at this point. And try to, if you don't know it, take a moment to just think about what it might be. But that strong move is bishop to g4. And there's no real effective way to stop bishop takes f3. I mean, or knight takes f3, doubling the pawns and opening up the king. I mean, maybe bishop e2, but this looks really ugly to me after knight takes, queen takes, rook e8. Just an ugly looking position where black is up in development, black is the 2 bishops, and white is just struggling. In the game, he went knight to b5. Bishop takes f3, pawn takes f3, knight e6, knight h5, with ideas of using this f4 square and kind of targeting the g2, e2, and h3 squares as well. So black already has an obvious advantage here. The question is, will he win or not? We're not going to spend the rest of this video looking at how the game proceeded. We're going to jump forward a bunch of moves in the next video and go to the next key moment of this game. But moves like d4 are very important to see and to understand that they're good moves. I mean, Mainly, when the king is not castled especially, and you can like kind of open lines against the king and get rid of your weakness on d5, you just got to jump at that move. Simple developing moves like bishop e6 or getting your bishop out of the way with bishop b6, much less accurate. d4 is clearly the correct move. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow with the continuation of this battle. Bye-bye.